All right, good morning, good afternoon, digital multimedia. We're here again working with this magazine cover, sort of where we left off in yesterday's class. I'm using a brand new microphone here, so I may kind of pause the video just to double check. It's not any type of errors on your side or internet connectivity issues. I just want to make sure that what I'm narrating here is actually holding true. So if something happens, don't really worry too much about it. So where we left off yesterday in both classes was sort of with this magazine design here. We had already kind of played around with some of the different fonts, typed out, magazine and trends, and we started to wrap things up by adding a gradient on its own individual layer that we wanted to actually have just in the yellow area, in the models area, but have the yellow area still preserved. And I did this by explaining that we can kind of repurpose some of the selection tools, in this case, the magic wand tool, and tell Photoshop that we would like it to actually invert or inverse the selection. So I'm going to start off by using the magic wand tool and then making sure that I'm actually on the layer with the model. And I'm just going to click in the background, and you'll notice that that does a pretty good job of selecting all the different outlined areas. It did forget this area right here, so I'm going to hold down the shift key and add that selection right there. And I'm also going to work here in this area, hold down the shift key and click right there so that I get every little bit of yellow selected. And you'll notice that it did a pretty decent job in regards to the outline of the hair and the edges of the person. And now I want to tell Photoshop that I want that all reversed around. So I'm going to go up to the top of the selection menu, and you'll notice that I have the ability to click inverse. This just means the opposite, or flip the selection. And when I click that, you'll notice that the lines actually are now around the model, but they're not around the background, which is kind of important because this is the exact same thing we did with the quick selection tool, only it involved using a little bit more patience in moving the quick selection tool through our model. Now, we're going to go back up to this layer with the gradient. We're going to select that, and then we're going to go down to the bottom where the layer mask button is, and we're just going to simply click on that button. And lo and behold, what do we have? We have a layer mask now that allows this gradient to show through in the outline or the silhouette of our model. And the background area here is completely black or see-through now, and it's now yellow and preserved. Now we're going to add some additional details or design elements, and we're going to then copy the layer mask over so that those elements only happen in the certain areas that we want them to happen in. If you haven't created a brand new layer, brand new clean layer, do so and then select that layer. And we're going to go in and grab one of the custom shape tools that we have available to us, because actually the custom shape tool will work out a lot easier than simply making a whole bunch of rectangular designs. And I'm going to go to the top of my screen and click the down menu where the different shape selections are at, and inside this menu there is a series, let me zoom out a little bit more, there are a series, there it is, of diagonal lines that we can actually create all the same color at once. So I'm going to go in there and select this design. I'm going to come back out, and again on its own brand new layer, I'm going to click and drag the diagonal lines right over top of my model. Alright, I had to pause it there. There was a knock at the door and I had to go answer it. But picking up where we were at, I just put that custom design tool, and now as you can see, I've got these diagonal lines that are all over, and because this is a custom shape, it really doesn't matter what color you have, because we can always go in and change that color simply by double clicking on the preview, and with the the color picker, go through and change those colors. I actually like this kind of baby blue or this bluish green, sea green blue color. I don't really know what the name of it is, so I'm going to kind of leave this here, but I am going to go up to the blending style because I'd like this to interact with my model in a different way. I'm going to go through and just kind of click on some, see what the difference looks like, see what this actually kind of plays with. And I think maybe overlay. Yeah, overlay looks okay. Let's see what hard light does. Hard light's a little bit too much. Vivid light, linear light, they're all kind of doing the same thing. I kind of want the design to be there, but I don't want it too bold. Let's just go soft light again. All right, so as you can see, some of the color information is still there, and it does create sort of this pattern light yellow diagonal line kind of look here in the background. But it also is going over top of the image of my model, which, you know, if I click off of here, this could be kind of confusing to a viewer coming in, as though they don't really understand why there's now vertical lines all over. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer mask and we're going to make a duplicate and apply it right down here. There's a really simple way of doing that. All you need to do is hold down the Option key. The Option key is not the same as the Command key. It's right next to the Command key. And we're going to simply drag that layer mask down so that we make a duplicate, holding down the Option key. Now, again, this might be kind of confusing because now the lines in the background aren't there, but they're on our model. It's almost like the opposite happened. Well, just like I previously explained to you in regards to switching the selection on the gradient tool, we can do the exact same thing on a layer mask without using magic wands or quick selection tools. To invert this layer mask, all we need to do is double click on the layer mask, and a little option panel for the layer masks will pop open. We can click the invert button, and when I zoom out, you'll notice that now the diagonal lines are going to be running in the background, whereas where the diagonal lines were in our model, they're now being covered up. Why is this happening? Because as you can see, this is the exact opposite, or the inverse, of what our layer mask is up there. And let's see, when I zoom out, did I actually get it? Holy cow. I actually did what it was that I wanted it to do, right? You'll see that we applied the exact same layer mask to two layers. The only difference here is in one layer mask, we've got a color gradient being applied in this white area, and everything that's black is being hidden. And over here, everything that's black is being hidden, which is these diagonal lines, and everything that's white is being see-through, which is our background. Now, all we really need to do to make this magazine kind of actually pop and be a magazine is add some elements, like maybe magazine titles, or in this case, a barcode. Now, you can have really any barcode that you want that you can go to and find. If you're going to use Google Images and click on the image tab when you type in a search, one thing that you probably want to make sure is that when you're searching for images, you actually search for the proper images, images that can be used inside your Photoshop documents. This means that you want to make sure that the size is large enough. Oh, sorry, my screen there. The size is large enough so that you can scale it down later on. It keeps snapping, there we go. And to do that, you can click Tools. You'll get this little pop-down menu, and then you select large. Now I've got some pretty decent barcodes here. This one seems to be the best. As you can see, there is a background that has a checkerboard pattern here, which means that there is no background. There's a see-through background, and that's fine. I'm just going to right-click and save image as. It's going to say, where do you want to save this? And I'm going to say right on my desktop because it's super easy for me to find. I'm going to say save. And now to get this image into my Photoshop document, it's as simply as coming back into Photoshop, clicking File, Place, and when this screen pops out, I click on the desktop location, and there is the saved as barcode that I just got. I'm going to place that, and it's kind of big, so I'm going to move this down here towards the corner and resize it just a little bit. press enter. And as you can see, we've got a pretty decent barcode, but most barcodes are black and white. It makes the scanner actually work. As you can see, they're black and white. So I have to add a white rectangle right behind it. And this is really easy to do because we have a rectangle tool or a shape builder right here, the rectangle tool. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to draw a rectangle right over top. Now, this might be a little weird because that rectangle is not white, but because it is a shape and because it's on its own layer, I can double click to change the color, make it white, and then I'm actually going to drag this underneath the barcode right there. So I've got my barcode and then the brand new rectangle that I made, and there's my rectangle. Maybe make that size a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger on that side, a little bit bigger on that side. There we go. That looks pretty good. Of course, your rectangle size is going to be dependent upon what kind of barcode you download from the internet. I really wouldn't look for something too overwhelming, but just make sure if it has a see-through background like mine did, mine has a see-through background, that you add the white rectangle below it or in the layer right below. Now, this is sort of in prep for your magazine Photoshop quiz that's going to be coming up tomorrow. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to watch this video, pause it, rewind it, do whatever you need to do. Save this though, save this file, save as, okay? Practice magazine, and keep the last three letters here, PSD, so that if for some reason you need to go back to it, all of the layers will be preserved. And keep it in an area like the desktop or your USB drive that you own and you bring in every class period, remember, in a spot that you can always go to. I've got it saved to my desktop, and I'm going to say save, and let's check out, make sure it's actually there. I'll minimize, close, check out my desktop. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It was on my other screen. There's my practice magazine cover PSD file. All right. I'm not going to require you guys to turn this in, but I think it'd be a good idea to hold on to, considering that tomorrow, Wednesday, there's a half day, and I want you guys to be able to work through some of the challenges in the quiz. All right. I will see you guys when I return Wednesday. Hopefully you guys will all be there for the remainder of the week. You will be working on this magazine quiz in hopes that you guys can kind of organize your thoughts on what you're going to do for your magazine cover project. See ya.